Summer routines live or die by how easy they are, and honestly, if something takes too much effort, I'm out. That's why Groons is my go-to. It's my one daily pack of gummies covering my greens, vitamins, and minerals. Plus, it has 6 grams of prebiotic fiber, which is more than 2 cups of broccoli. No mixing powders, no giant pills, no hassle. I just rip open the pack and I'm done. They taste good and they make it easy to stay on top of my health, even when life gets busy. Save up to 52% with the code PODCAST at Groons.co. That's code PODCAST at GRUNS.co.
Welcome back to TalkNorth.com. Our special for our listeners this week, go to BiteSquad.com or the Bite Squad app, enter WILD 2018. WILD 2018, all caps, WILD 2018. You'll get 10% off your Bite Squad order this weekend only, Friday through Sunday. We're really targeting the Wilds games this weekend and the Vikings at Bears game. So order a lot of food, you get 10% off. The more you order, the more you get off. Thanks to BiteSquad.com, and thanks to our listeners for helping us out with this one. Now we can finally do a show where we're comfortable. We can talk about a losing streak. I mean, now we're in our element. We were just all happy talk, and everything's fine. Why did anybody panic in the offseason or the beginning of the season? Now we are in our element.
Yeah. How about the other night? Just like if you were a Minnesota fan that was finally starting to get hope.
This weekend destroyed it.
I mean, it's crazy. It starts with the Gophers and then goes right into the Wolves, the Wild, and the Vikings all in a row. Bang, 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 bang.
We really just should become Minnesota volleyball fans. Just follow the volleyball program and just leave all this other stuff for people who want to be miserable.
Yeah, or White Caps. They're undefeated,
the White Caps,
I think.
There you go. Sure, I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just unbelievable. And, the Wilds lost 2 in a row, and the most important thing here is to end it. They've played well the last 2 games. They just couldn't score, and second and third period the other night they played well and in Chicago, and they just couldn't get that tying goal. And then the same thing against Buffalo, who, by the way, rallied back from 3 goals down to beat Pittsburgh yesterday. So this is just what the Sabres are right now. They're playing outstanding hockey, and the Wild just could not make it 3-0 that night, and it eventually bit them in the butt. But the problem that I see and the concern is that oftentimes you play well at the beginning of losing streaks, and then all of a sudden, out of frustration or the inability to score, you start cheating all over the ice. Frustration goes into your game, and then all of a sudden your game falls apart. So that's why tomorrow night against Ottawa, they've got to really come back and figure out a way to get back on track against a really poor Ottawa Senators team, but one that can light you up offensively. But man, they are defensive sieves.
We are speaking on Tuesday, previewing the Wednesday night game and, of course, the rest of the week. This is the Russo-Souhan Show. This is our hockey show on TalkNorth.com, the fast-growing Minnesota podcast network. Had about 145,000 listens last month. I think we'll beat that this month. If you'd like to advertise with the program or anywhere across the network, you can reach me at jsouhan47 at gmail.com. So jsouhan47 at gmail.com. Thanks to our producer, Brandon Morton. Please download before you listen. It's a better listening experience. It's better for us. And thanks to our sponsors, Twill in the Edina Galleria, WizKids.tech in downtown Minneapolis, Delano's Pizza, Fixologyrepair.com, Bite Squad, and State Farm. The Bite Squad, thanks to everybody who participated in the Bite Squad promo over the weekend. On an ongoing basis, if you're a first-time Bite Squad user, you can get your delivery fee waived by using the promo code TalkNorth. That's what I always loved about Jacques Lemaire, and I'm sure Boudreau is very similar, is that he didn't, and it really reminded me of covering Tom Kelly. They didn't really watch the scoreboard as much as they watched body language and situations, and they were always reading what was going to happen next, not what had just happened.
Yeah, and I mean today in practice, you could just tell that right now the team is excuse me, looking back to normal. I mean, he was as fun a practice as I've seen them have. They seem loose and not uptight, and maybe it's good that this team got a day off yesterday away from hockey, meaning Monday, and got back at it today. And Bruce also, superstitious after when they're at the losing streaks, he does practice the same way. He ends practice the same way with these fun 3-on-1, 3-on-2 drills, and then the losing team has to do push-ups on the ice and skate. I think it's a superstition that he's had for forever, because Ryan Carter predicted it today, and that's exactly the way practice ended. So, and the good news is that Bruce is still employed today, Jim.
That's very interesting. Let's get to the hirings and firings. I want to make one other point. I've covered a lot of football in my life. I've covered a lot of baseball. I've covered a certain amount of basketball, and so many sports are game plan driven. And the practice is to put in a game plan. Baseball is to really refine skills. In football, it's game plans, usually during the season. In basketball, it's kind of a combination of the two. It's points of emphasis. For a normal hockey practice, is it more, during this time of the year, is it more game planning or refining skills?
It's pretty much refining skills. I mean, it's play with the puck. Very little today was talking about Ottawa, a couple things that they do on the power play, a couple things that they do on the penalty kill. But it's more just, get out there and get some repetition with the lines. They're back to the lines that they had on the 5-2 road trip, which is Zucker, Stahl, Granlund, Parisi, Koivu, Niederreiter, Greenway, Eriksson at Coyle, and Foligno, Fair, and Brown. And the one thing I will say on Bruce the last couple games is, look, he missed. Obviously, Zach missing the one game with an illness. It changed the lines. They played really well against who was it, Vancouver, and then unfortunately for them, they come back the next night. And Bruce, I thought, should have just gone back to the old lines, and he switched everything up. Then they lose that game, and then he comes out with some strange lines, in my opinion, against Chicago. And, my question before that was, why don't you just go back to the lines that were so great on the 5-2 road trip, especially the last three games, LA, Anaheim, and St. Louis, where they had every line going. Every night it was a different line that won. They finally started getting good play from the Greenway, Eriksson at Coyle line. Well, what does he do? He switches them up for the first period the other night in Chicago. They get absolutely rolled over. And then what does he do? He goes back to the lines that he had on the road trip in the second and third periods, and the Wild dominated the play. So now he's going to go into tomorrow's game with the lines that he probably should have had at the start of the Chicago game, and certainly against Buffalo. So that's the other thing. It's kind of putting together, a game plan from that standpoint. But at this point in the season, you're not tweaking things. You're not changing your system. You're not, you have to make adjustments in game to maybe look at something that the other team is doing and try to fix that. But right now, they're in a position where it's pretty much business as usual when they're in these practices.
We have some hirings and firings to talk about. We have the defensive pairings to talk about. We're going to take some Twitter questions. Do want to thank Twill in the Edina Galleria, twillmn.com, Twill on Instagram. I've bought stuff from pretty much every line they carry these days. They also have a lot of great gifts for golfers. It's a men's clothing store that will dress you everywhere from shoes and socks all the way up to the hats. I just bought a hat from Twill. Check out twillmn.com for their full selection.
Jim usually doesn't like to shop for clothes. I don't like it when he shops for clothes either, because he used to buy stuff I'd want to throw out. That's why I'm so glad he's found Twill in the Edina Galleria. He likes shopping there because of the comfortable environment and the friendly staff. He finds clothes that actually fit him properly and are high-quality brands that will look great for years, whether he's golfing or working. Our favorites so far are Peter Millar, Johnny O, and Barber. We spend our money at Twill because we love the clothes and we love the no-pressure shopping. Drop by Twill in the Edina Galleria for the best shopping experience and best clothes you'll find in the Twin Cities.
You want to do defensive pairings or hirings first?
Let's go hirings.
Yeah. So Hitch is back in the game.
Yeah.
He told, Tim Kalishaw is an old friend of mine who covered him in Dallas. I think he saw on Twitter today that Hitch told Tim that he was done. He ain't done. He's back.
No, he's unretired and retired about 15 times. He's got 9 lives. I talked to him a couple of weeks ago, and he had lost a lot of weight and seemed content living down in Dallas and having fun on his consulting deal, where he was essentially kind of an special assistant to Jim Nill. And if you saw that pattern story that I wrote, Hitch was a big part of that. But I mean, it's funny. First of all, if I had told you 5 games into this season that by Thanksgiving 2 Central Division coaches would be fired and 4 Western Conference coaches would be fired, I think a lot of Wild fans would have probably at this point thought that maybe Bruce was one of them.
And they might have thought that Bruce had been fired twice.
Yeah. And it turns out that Joel Quenneville and Mike Yeo are the 2. Joel, we have already talked about. Mike was fired late Monday night after their game, very similar to Minnesota. They allow him to go out there and have the post-game press conference, and then boom, he's walked back in his office and he's got a GM waiting for him with the bad news. They were shut out 3 of the last 4 games. Just didn't live up to the hype this year, and unfortunately, when that happens, it's the coach that pays the price. It happens after an LA game where they were decimated by injuries, didn't have a lot of players playing against the Kings, but Doug Armstrong saw enough. And remember, at the beginning of the season, I think one of the things I said is I didn't see any way that this team would miss the playoffs. But I remember talking to Bruce Boudreau at the State Fair, and somebody came up and asked him, about the Blues, and he kind of called this. He didn't think that they were going to mesh all that well.
Which is a really interesting thing for an opposing coach to say. Most guys will not say that out loud.
Well, Bruce is not, he's never politically correct or never probably thinks that hey, that could be bulletin material somewhere else. I will say, I like one Twitter I retweeted when he was fired last day, and somebody was like, from the state of Minnesota, we told you so. What have the Wild done since Mike Yeo was fired? Like, I mean, do we need to really have this conversation again? That the Wild's destruction a couple of years ago had nothing to do with Yeo. They've done nothing since. They've continued. In fact, Mike Yeo got them to the second round 2 years in a row.
Right.
So, it's just, I love how, people like to kick you when you're down type thing. But it doesn't take a genius to realize that you've had now 4 coaches with essentially, let's be fair, let's not include Todd Richards. You've had 3 coaches with the core of this team, and they haven't gotten past the second round, and haven't gotten past the second round in the last 3 years. Or past the first round in the last 3 years. So, to blame the Wild on Mike Yeo and say that he's a bad coach is just fooling yourselves, quite frankly. And in terms of what's going on in Edmonton, long rumored that Todd McClellan would be fired. Not long rumored that Ken Hitchcock would take over, though. And this is kind of like what he did in Dallas, where Dallas, he was hired to be the coach, but I think a lot of us thought that it was a 1-year thing. And I think a lot of us thought that Jim Nill did not make that decision. And I bet you that he didn't make this decision, Peter Chiarelli in Edmonton. I think this was, hey, come in, be a taskmaster for the rest of the year. And we'll reevaluate after the season. I can't, my guess is that Ken does not come back, that this is just a year thing. But suddenly there's a lot of good coaches available here. And as Boudreau joked today, let's hope it ends now. All of a sudden guys like Vigneault's out there, Todd McClellan's out there, Quenneville's out there, Balsma's out there. There's just a ton of coaches out there right now.
Are they all going to coach again?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know about Yeo. If Yo's smart, he should go the Todd Richards route. I don't know if he has it in him because Todd was a cup of coffee coach, 2 years, very underwhelming here. Mike spent 4 years here, had been in St. Louis a long time, less than 2 years as sort of the coach in waiting type guy. But Mike might want to go back to, I don't know if he's got it in him because he's been the head guy for a while, but he might want to go back. I mean, hey, Dan Balsma, one of his mentors in Pittsburgh, he put his ego aside and he's the assistant coach now in Detroit. So at some point you might want to do that, and it might be good for his health to just take a step back. I don't know if I said it on the show, but not this last St. Louis game, but the one a week before. I went to dinner with Mike, and I think he knew that the pressure was under him. And I think he was frustrated because he thought the team should be playing much better. I mean, what's going on with Tarasenko? Guy doesn't score anymore.
I know. It's bizarre.
Yeah. Schwartz has been terrible. Steen's been a shell of himself. Petro's been horrendous. Bouwmeester can't play the game anymore. If it wasn't for Ryan O'Reilly, this team would be 30th and 31st in the NHL right now. So they've got a lot of issues there beyond the coach in St. Louis. There's a lot of stuff in that locker room that they better figure out. Doug Armstrong, the GM today, said that he's taking all the letters off his players. How about that? Talk about a kick to the butt.
Wow.
I almost said, you know what?
We need to get these guys in an Uber and hear what they really think.
I mean, talk about, what's that say? No letters on these guys anymore.
Man.
Yep.
Strip all the C's.
Yep. Strip all the C's, strip all the A's. We're not even just stripping the C's there. They're stripping the A's. Wow.
Oh, I wish the Wild would just strip the logo. But that's a different story. Thanks to whizkids.tech, WHIZKIDS.tech. They are located not far from where we're doing this podcast. They have a big billboard on Washington Avenue. Managed IT, unified communications, cloud services. Let them be your chief technology ally.
Hello, Minnesota sports fans. This is Michael Thanner, founder and CEO of WizKids. WizKids is a Minneapolis-based managed IT, hosted VoIP, and cloud services provider. Businesses today require fast response times, skilled support staff, clear communication, and technology recommendations that align with their business goals. At WizKids, we do this each and every day with our clients. When you call into our help desk for support or work with one of our higher-level engineers on a complex issue, you'll find our staff personable and ready to roll up their sleeves to help you solve your technology problems. Reach out to WizKids today to find out how we can help your business meet your technology goals. Visit us online at whizkids.tech. That's whizkids.tech. WizKids, make it happen.
Any other meat on the bone as far as hirings and firings? Well, let me ask you this about Bruce. I mean, listen, I don't wish the man any ill. I like the way he coaches. I think he's fun to have around. Would he coach again, or is this his last stop?
Well, it's funny because I've talked to Bruce about this, and he's like, this one's got to last because this is probably it. Because his whole point is who's going to hire a 67-year-old coach. And
a lot of people might for like a interim.
Well,
thing,
look at this.
Right?
I mean, look what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, Hitch keeps on coming back. Quenville, who's in his 60s, is going to coach again. Larry Robinson is suddenly back on now he's doing it on an interim basis, but he's suddenly back on St. Louis's bench. So it's good for the old guys. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But for all of for at least my health, I hope that Bruce is here for a long time.
Did you see the video of Q doing shots?
Oh yeah,
that was awesome.
You gotta love it. Remember, Q is the guy that when the Wild beat Dallas in Game 82 in 2000 and what would have been 8 or 7? Well, it might have been. Can't remember if it was 7 or 8. They beat Dallas in Game 82, and what that meant was that Mark Crawford's Dallas Stars missed the playoffs, and the Chicago Blackhawks made it as the 8th seed. I bet it was 07 because I think it was the year that they won their first cup. Andrew Brunette. It had to be 07 because in 08 Brunette played for for Chicago. Hopefully I'm not getting this all wrong. But Quenville sent a Bud Light truck to Andrew Brunette's home in Woodbury as a thank you and dropped off cases of beer for Andrew as a thank you.
One of the Blackhawks beat writers, when Q left, he tweeted a story out. I apologize, I can't give proper credit because it just popped in my head. I didn't plan on talking about it. He said that Quenneville, after maybe the first Stanley Cup championship, and Q was notorious for being boring in press conferences, right? He was intentionally boring. So the beat writer sees him. It's like Ditka's, or if it's not Ditka's, it's someplace like that in Chicago, and everybody's doing shots. Everybody's partying up a storm. Q comes in a back entrance. Everybody's mobbing him. He's hugging everybody. He's kind of like Norm and Cheers, right? Mm-hmm. So the beat writer goes over, shakes his hand, and Q goes, "Man, wasn't that a great ride? Wasn't that great to be a part of?" And so the beat writer sees Q like next training camp or whatever, and goes up to him and said, "Man, I didn't realize you had such a following at Ditka's." And Q said, "Oh, really? That was actually the first time I'd ever been there." Yeah. He walked in the door and he was the hero.
Yeah. Q likes to. Q's a man of the people.
Yeah.
How about this one? This just popped in my head as I was driving here. I was thinking, there's a chance that somebody's been texting with him, and I don't think he's going to be in a hurry right now to take another job. And again, as I've said on this podcast, he's owed a lot of money by Chicago. They control where he goes, especially if it was St. Louis. Are you going to let him go to a division rival unless they're going to pick up the whole thing? And then you got to pay him on top of that. Plus, both Edmonton and St. Louis have to pay their, both McClellan and Yo 2 more years. If you're Quenville, do you sit on the sidelines, see what's happening? Then what happens after this year if Stan Bowman's fired?
Yeah.
Could you maybe go back to Chicago? as the coach. With a either a potential new GM or even have some sort of managerial role there. So I think Quenneville he's in the driver's seat here. He can wait as long as he wants. He's going to have his picking of places to coach. The other thing, by the way, to the guy that took a shot at Mike Yeo, I mean, this is the third time Joel Quenneville's been fired.
Right.
You are hired to be fired. As I texted with Yo today, I mean, we were texting. Like, it's a brutal business, man.
Yep.
It just is. It's the only job in the world. Like, even you and I, you take a job, you're never expecting to be fired.
No. And to be honest, in our industry,
you're never fired. Yeah.
Well, I mean, businesses come and go, and you can get laid off. But the people in our business who are good at what they do don't get fired.
Right.
The business might fail, but they don't get fired.
And most of us in every day of life take a job, and you're not expecting that one day you're going to be called in and you're let go.
Right.
This is the only job on earth, as in terms of a coach, where you know that one day you are going to get absolutely canned, and it's probably going to be in 2 or 3 years. You are taking a job knowing that in 2, 3, 4 years that you're probably going to be let go. And Ken Hitchcock's is going to be a Hall of Famer, been fired a gazillion times. This is the job. And that's what I laugh when I look at Twitter and everybody making fun of, oh, you see, we told you, Yo can't coach. Every coach is hired to be fired.
Absolutely.
And the Wild have done nothing since Mike Yeo was fired. Mike Yeo brought this team to places it has not been before. Even Jacques only got him past the first round once.
Yep.
So, like, my God here, to sit there and say, yep, we knew it. We were right. The Fire Yeo Brigade was right. We told you he can't coach. See, he was fired by St. Louis. Like, let me just tell you, St. Louis hasn't won a Stanley Cup in their history. They are perennial failures. That organization, you think you have it bad here in Minnesota, those people in St. Louis have it awful. They've done nothing in their entire time watching hockey. So what Mike Yeo did the last couple of years and seeing them flounder again is nothing different. In fact, it seems to be a trend. So, that's what I got to say on that.
I love when we get you fired up, man.
Yeah.
And look,
it's the same guy that gets me fired up on Twitter about everything.
Which is great. And thank you, Guy, on Twitter for getting Michael fired up. If you didn't do it,
I can't remember which one. He's either a Dubnyk hater or a Koivu hater. I can't remember which one. He's one or the other. Same guy.
The interesting thing isn't it different? I was thinking about this today. Because, I have to write about should they hire this guy, should they fire this guy. It's part of my job to critique these kind of moves, even though I don't always enjoy doing it. And it is amazing, the double standard, too. It's like, I was thinking, if somebody becomes like a vice president in a business, right, and makes good money, and the business does pretty well, and they never become a president, and their organization never wins whatever the top award in that industry is, you look at that person and you say, wow, what a success story, right?
Yeah.
That guy did great. Guy or woman did very well for themselves, and they supported their family, and maybe they did good things in the community, whatever. We think of those people as like, I hate the word elite, but for lack of a better word, elite, right? And if somebody rises to the top, there are just not many of these jobs. NHL coach, Major League coach, NFL coach, they rise to that job and they win a certain amount of games. They hold on the job for a while. They treat people decently, and they become these villains.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, and the other thing is, and not to sit there and continue to rip on fans, but my favorite thing is that fans for the most part think that they somehow know more than Bruce Boudreau or Mike Yeo or blah 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 blah, and it's just not the case. And also there's
they
always
only know more than PJ Fleck, not the other coaches.
That might be true, and there's actually a perfect example. PJ Fleck, I was just listening to his radio show on there, and I was rolling my eyes throughout the entire show.
Better you than me, man.
But there's an example of where I'm totally on the outside. So everything he says, I just kind of scoff at and think, well, he's full of this and full of that. And the reality is that also when you are on the inside, there are so many dynamics that that the average fan doesn't know that led to certain decisions that can never be just put out there. And that's why, when I look at the Blues, there's major issues on that team. There just is. There 100% is. And that's what they better get it to the bottom is that's so beyond coaching. And the other thing is that, again, as fans, you should know that the reality is that they made all their offseason moves this year. The GM is protecting himself at this point. He's the one that's made all these personnel decisions.
And he's fired 3 coaches.
And he's fired coach after coach after coach there. Same thing, you think Peter Chiarelli, who's made the worst trades in the NHL the last couple of years, should be absolved of what's going on in Edmonton? It's not built in reality. Todd McClellan is still a great coach. Now, with all that said, after Mike Yeo was fired last night, I went on because I was interested to see if his tone in the post game, and this is an actually interesting little kind of soliloquy here.
You know what? Let's get to this 1 second. Let's pause just to thank Delano's Pizza, Delano'sPizza.com. They've been doing it for 60 years.
November 30th is our next.
And that's a Friday, right?
Yeah,
we're
6
good
p.m.
doing it on a Friday night.
Yep, I think so.
Okay, we're gonna try out something new. 6 p.m. on Friday, November 30th. We're gonna do a show from Delano's Pizza downtown. Usually we do Tuesdays or Wednesdays. We're gonna try out a Friday. It also fits into everybody's schedule with Michael traveling all over the world. So come down to Delano's Pizza. It is 118 North 4th Street, Minneapolis, Minnesota. 118 North 4th Street. That's 4th with a numeral 4. If you want to order pizza from them, you can reach them at 612-767-9494 or just go to delanospizza.com and order online. I usually just use the online mechanism. It works very well. Jared makes his own proprietary tomato or marinara sauce. It's outstanding. The people who've come out to our live shows love it, and they tell me so. We had a bunch of people we were hanging out with after the show the other day telling us how much they love the food and the atmosphere. All the big screens, all the drinks, all the beers you could want. I appreciate they have really good gluten-free crust that makes it a go-to for me. Again, 612-767-9494, delanospizza.com. Pizza Today recently named them one of the 100 best independent-owned pizzerias in America. I think that says it all. And remember, 6 o'clock, November 30th, at Delano's Pizza in downtown Minneapolis. Come on, stop on by and hang out with us. At least do happy hour with us. We'd appreciate it. So continue with your thought.
What was I saying?
You were talking about Yo's tone post-game.
So I wanted to see if you remember when he was fired after the Boston game here, 3 Februarys ago. We all kind of, I had written.
Yeah.
We were in St. Louis. Chuck Fletcher gave him a vote of confidence. I wrote a big story. Chuck Fletcher doesn't know what the F he's talking about. Here's what's really going on. And I think at that point, Mike Yeo knew that he was in deep trouble because he probably knew that I was clued in. And so after they have a horrific homestand, they lose to Washington, they lose to Boston, the question is, do you think this is it? And he basically, if you remember the quote, was like, I'm not freaking quitting, blah, blah, blah. Well, he was fired minutes later.
Yeah.
So I wanted to see if his tone after that last night's press conference was similar. Well, here's the interesting thing. For 5.5 minutes, he talked about the team. And we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. And even the questions by the media, you could tell they were all almost fatigued by asking him for the last month if he thought his job was in jeopardy.
And
so nobody thought it was coming yesterday, especially because they played a game decimated with injury and guys out of the lineup. Well, this is to get back to my point on this needed to happen. I watched the presser, and I think we all know my respect level for Mike.
Yeah.
He had no answers. There were a lot of nonsensical answers. He didn't know how to answer certain questions. Somebody asked him I think it was the columnist Ben there, asked him, essentially what can you do to tweak things? And he went through we're going to watch video, we're going to do this and video and tape and video and video.
He didn't know.
And then his last question, same thing. He kind of talked in circles and whether I got to think that Doug Armstrong just said it enough. It just needed to happen. There's nothing more you could do. Mike doesn't want to get fired, but I got to think a lot of times you're like, I've tried everything, just sucks. It sucks to lose your job, but probably even Mike probably is like, look, it needed to happen.
Here's the other aspect of all that. They do make a lot of money. And one of the reasons they make a lot of money is because it's a high-stress job, it's a difficult job, and it's an uncertain future in that job. So, again, if you can pull yourself back from the emotion of being fired, which has to be very difficult for anybody with any pride, you kind of balance out and say, okay, well, I'm in the head coaching loop. I'm going to have these stints of 2 or 3 years in a row where I make What are they? What was he making? $1 million?
He's making $2 probably.
$2 million. So
McClellan was making $3 a year. Quenville was making $6 a year.
So
it's also the other job, like you're hired to be fired, but you're also usually taken care of.
Right. You get to the end of your tenure and you have money in the bank.
Yep.
You get to take a break and then you come back either as a head coach or an assistant or a consultant or whatever. It's if you can get over the emotions of the moment, it's still a good gig.
Oh yeah, no doubt. And the new thing is consulting jobs after you're fired.
Right.
So an example is Bruce Boudreau. He's got 2 years left on his deal at $2.5 million or so. But then he's got a couple years on a consulting deal to continue with the organization. So theoretically, even though it's a lot less money, even if Paul Fenton says after 2 years or a year or whatever that you're no longer the coach here, he still has a pretty nice paycheck coming the 2 years after.
Right.
Where even if he doesn't work again, he's going to be theoretically part of the organization. A lot of times you're kind of like get away, like Hitch.
They really don't want to see it around.
Like Hitch didn't do a lot helping Jim Montgomery. He was essentially Jim Nill's special assistant.
Right. All right. Let's get to the Spurgeon, Dumba, Suter, Brodeen foursome and how that's going to play out. Let's quickly thank Fixologyrepair.com. John Hedges, our friend who comes out to the live shows, he has partnered with Seiko. He has doubled his Seiko inventory. He has a full assortment of Pulsar watches. And he right now has Kenneth Cole and Guess watches are marked down for the holidays on sale. Third floor of the Mall of America by Nordstrom's and downtown in the Skyway just south of the Wells Fargo Center. Fixologyrepair.com.
There are some things in life that you just can't live without. Now, whether it's a special piece of jewelry, a watch, or even your smartphone, you want it in working condition. At Fixology Repair, we are committed to restoring your pieces so that everything works or fits the way it ought to. Watch servicing, chain repair, and broken screen replacements are just a few of the services that we offer at our 2 locations, Mall of America and the Skyway in downtown Minneapolis. Please visit us at Fixologyrepair.com or at FixologyMN on Twitter to learn more. Mention this ad and get a 10% discount on our services.
All right, what's going on with the D pairings right now?
Well, Sunday night, Dumba was terrible from start to finish in that game. And he really never recovered. Even when the team started to recover, he didn't recover his game. Although late in the game, they're down a goal. He's pressing. He's leading the forecheck. Turns the puck over. But, in that situation, I think Bruce wants him to be active in that situation. But regardless, I asked Bruce after the game, about Dumba Suter because they've had a couple tough games in a row. And he goes, we're going to have to reevaluate that. So I wrote my entire gamer basically predicting that we'd come to practice today and see for the first time this season Spurgeon reunited with Suter and Brodeen reunited with Dumba, last year's pairings. And my question in the story was, is it worth it at the expense of one of the best shutdown lines in the NHL this season, Brodeen Spurgeon? Well, come to practice today, and he did to essentially protect Dumba, to try to get Dumba back into a settled role, and probably make Suter a little happy. He's broken up the pair at the potential effect of now he doesn't have Brodeen and Spurgeon to throw out there every night against the top forwards of the other team. So the question is it worth it? Bruce wasn't convincing today, I would say, which makes you think that this was just to make Suter essentially happy because I think Dumba was going to make him jump off a building at some point. And that's just total conjecture.
That's the great thing about Suter. Suter got his consulting job before he retired.
Yeah. And again, I'm not saying it, but it is hard. I just wrote this story about Paul Martin retiring last week, and Brett Hedican was really. If you didn't read that story, give it a read because give that story a read and read Brett Hedican's quotes as Brent Burns, Matt Dumba, and why Paul Martin was the perfect template of a defense partner for Brent Burns when he won the Norris. Now, but consider everything that Brett Hedican is saying. Consider it as Paul Martin. And what Brett was saying is that it is a freaking nightmare sometimes to play with an unpredictable defenseman who's going to stray on your side and be absolutely just a wild stallion out there. And the reason why Paul Martin was perfect is that he was poised, one, but two, he didn't complain. He just kind of calmed, Brent down to the point that then eventually he'd get back on his side and start playing normal hockey and blah, 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 blah. And Suter was fine. They've been a good defense pair all year, and I think Dumba's had a good year. But lately, I think sometimes when Dumba starts scoring goals and creating offense, he gets a little crazy out there. He wants to do it all the time. And he doesn't remember that first things first, defense. And like that play on Saad the other day, yes, he was completely shocked by Saad's speed, but it started with him making kind of a reckless play in the neutral zone where he probably should have let the play come to him. And then it just was mayhem from there. So I just think that this is more to just let's get back to, trying to get Suter back on top of his game because you don't want Suter's game to fall apart, and get Dumba with Brodin, who's playing great. They've played well together before. And as Bruce said today, the easy thing is that you could get this back to normal in 30 seconds. So I don't think this is a permanent change, but I think this is one of those things where it's like, all right, let's just make the change now, try to calm things down, make sure Suter doesn't freaking combust, and there you go,
I mean, it would be tragic if Suter had a fire Boudreaux in the middle of the season.
Yeah. But you know what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah,
I'm just being a jerk.
Yeah. But I'm not saying that this was something that, a lot of this is just conjecture here, but a lot of it's informed conjecture. I mean, again, Bruce Boudreaux has been going on and on and on for a month and a half about how this is exactly what he wanted. He wanted Dumba playing with Suter because he wanted to have this great shutdown pair because Brodin and Spurgeon could play so well together. And then analytically, advanced stats-wise, that last road trip, their numbers, as he said, in Anaheim are off the freaking charts. And what does he do? He breaks it up after one bad game in Chicago. I don't think it takes a freaking hockey expert to realize what's going on here. This isn't because, normally you would just give them another game. This isn't because he wanted to break up Brodin and Spurgeon. Let's be honest about that. And today in practice, it was all about calming Dumba down and blah, 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 blah. So, this is just clear what's going on here. And again, it's a temporary thing. These are things that happen in a season. And we'll see how long it lasts.
A lot of good Twitter questions. Let's get to them. First, let's thank Tony Hoagland, your State Farm agent. He works out of Champlin, but he can work with you no matter where you are. We tend to use the app, call him, we email him. It's very easy to work with. He handles my insurance. He handles Michael's insurance. That's probably the best recommendation we can give. Hoaglund.
Hey, Minnesota sports fans. This is your local State Farm agent, Tony Hoagland. I need you all to ask yourselves this question. If you're in an at-fault car accident and you are sued for $700,000, how much of that $700,000 will my current insurance company pay? If you are unsure or can't answer all $700,000, you need to give us a call. State Farm has been #1 in car insurance since World War II and #1 in homeowners insurance since 1964. For a no-obligation review of your current policies, call us at 763-421-4900 or check out our website at www.champlininsurance.com.
Zeke Boyett, do you think Mikko will retire at the end of the 1920 season when his contract is up?
I don't know. I my guess, it's total conjecture, but I don't think the Wild are going to want to re-sign him. So then the question is, does he want to go somewhere else? And is that worth it? I think that he timed this contract. I think the Wild, with their extension, timed this contract to end before a potential lockout. Would he sign one-year deals? Maybe. A lot of it depends on where Eriksson Ek and Cunnin are in their development and if they have drafted or acquired good centers by then. But it's total conjecture. I mean, right now, I still think he could play the game. I think he's had a good year. I loved his game in Chicago. Thought he was awful against Buffalo. But before that, I thought he was great. I mean, the game in LA was as good as he's played in a long time, too. So I still think he could play the game, and I do think that when I look at the Wild, they don't have anybody that can do what he could do. But in 2 years, it's a long time from now. My guess is the Wild will want to move on, and then he'll have to make a decision, if that's the case, on whether or not he wants to be one of the rare NHL players that can begin and end his career in one team and be kind of famous for that, or go chase one-year deals when you've made all the money in the world. My guess is that he retires. He's going to have a young family. He's just building this incredible compound in Finland on an island. Go enjoy your life.
That sounds pretty good. From Andy Marshall, good question here. Regarding today's coaching changes, do you ever see the league emulating the recent trend in baseball and hiring younger, less experienced coaches? What about the NHL makes it so inclined to recycle? Good question.
Well, I do think that they're going to want to go young coaches, but I think they're going to want to be guys that have, played the game, not so much the Jeremy Colletons at a low level or not at a real high level. I think more like the Brindamore types and things like that. I do think that they want to get out of the recycling habits, but then sometimes, especially in these interim cases, it's easy to go with somebody that can go in there for a year and just kind of fix things, like maybe allegedly a Hitchcock can. But I don't think it'll ever get like baseball, where I don't want to. And you might totally disagree with me, but to me, there's only so much you could do as a baseball manager. These guys still have to go up. I
agree. I think baseball managers have so much less influence on winning, losing than the public.
Like I don't want to be like me as a baseball fan. I think I could manage. Maybe I'm wrong. I just said that how every fan thinks they could do better than Bruce or blah blah blah. But to me, it's not that tough. You hit and run. Hey, move over here in the outfield.
Well, the interesting thing about baseball is it's really,
I know when a pitcher needs to come out.
Pretty much anybody can make the decisions, the daily baseball-y decisions. The difficult part about the manager is managing the emotions of 25 different people.
Yeah.
Managing
for a long time. Yeah.
That's the difficult part.
And that's everything in all sports.
Right.
Can you imagine football? Holy hell.
Well, football, though, you have 85 assistant coaches. Every player has his own assistant coach.
Yeah. How about Hugh Jackson? Hugh Jackson couldn't even manage his own coaching staff.
Yeah, he's just a bad coach. Yeah. Sometimes people do make it to these heights, and then you realize, oh my God, that person.
I was just reading this great story. I don't know where it was, if it was on The Athletic or something, but about how Todd Haley was walking in to Dorsey's office, expecting to be named the interim coach, and he's like, "Yep, you're fired."
Yep.
And he's like, "What?" And he'd just gotten there.
Yep. Cleveland Browns. Aaron Berger, good question here. Is there a reason for the lack of franchise goalies in the league? The mid-late 90s seemed to have an excess of them. Was it born of the style of hockey played then?
Well, I don't know about that. I think that I do think that this league does lack stud goalies right now. But I think that's more the type of game that's being played. It is so hard to stay healthy if you're a goalie right now. I mean, you're seeing them drop like flies throughout the NHL. And then the other thing is it's just such a wild card. That's why teams don't want to take goalies in the first round, because you can't predict. It's such a mental position. There's so much stress being alone on an island, and you can't predict. You can't scout how mentally strong most goalies are. And so that's why you see guys come out of nowhere from 5th, 6th, 7th, rounds to be studs in the league, and that's why you see first rounders flounder. I mean, let's be honest. Other than Carey Price and Devin Dubnyk, there aren't a lot of first round goalies that succeeded in the NHL in the last several years. And that's why a lot of teams don't want to waste. As a scout actually recently told me, he goes, 2 things you don't want to waste. This is going to piss off some people. I'll probably be botted to hell after this comment, but there are 2 things you don't want to take a first-round pick on, and that's a goalie and a Russian. So that's what the scout told me.
Wow.
But the point of his thing was this Kaprizov thing.
Right.
That was what we were talking about. It said, this is why you don't want to take it. You just don't know. There aren't a lot of, I mean, even look at Washington. Kuznetsov's become an absolute star, and this is what the Wild hope happens with Kaprizov. It took a while to get Kuznetsov over here.
Absolutely. From Jamie,
not as long as Kaprizov, but it took a while.
From Jamie McCarthy, why do the Wild seem to always take the first period off?
Actually, that hasn't been a lot lately. I think it happened the other night in Chicago, but for the most part, they've actually been really good in the first period the last several weeks. That early season storyline of slow starts really departed, pretty much on that road trip.
From Russo Slacks.
Oy.
Is it possible that Cullen has played his last NHL game?
I hope not.
Most really fancy radio shows, they build in out this entire soundboard where the producer can hit a button and you get this certain sound. I have to just mention Russo Slacks.
Yeah. Oy.
I get a sound. Is it possible that Cullen's played his last NHL game?
I don't like that Russo Slacks has gone from photoshopping to all of a sudden asking serious questions on a daily basis. This is getting too much. It's like 3 or 4 in a row.
maybe somebody took over the bot.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe the bot became a human.
Yeah. I hope not. I don't know what his injury is. I'll be honest. I haven't texted with him. I haven't talked to him in a while, actually. But they say he's out long term with a lower body injury. My guess is I didn't see the play or what happened. He's had groin injuries and stuff in the past, but I will say, not knowing what the injury is and say for like a catastrophic knee injury, Matt is somebody that's in tremendous shape and works his absolute rear end off the ice, that he's going to want to go out his own way and come back. And then the other thing is that the fact that they're calling a lower body injury makes you think that they're thinking that he's going to come back at some point, because they don't want to divulge what the injury was. Where if all of a sudden he was going to miss, if he tore his ACL or something and he was going to miss all year, there'd be no reason to not divulge what the injury is.
Right. From Eric Vigo, would you rather go to Austria with Mike Yeo or Joel Quenneville?
Yo.
Why? Just know him better?
Wait. Would you rather go to Austria? Oh, yeah. Yo is absolutely awesome to hang out with.
Oh,
just
cool.
a great human being. And I don't know Joel well.
Right.
Other than, hello and texting,
Right.
Once in a while, which you could do with anybody in the NHL. That's why I cover the league.
So different than every other league.
Oh, my God. It's crazy. I mean, it's just nuts.
From B-Step.
I mean, just an example is like the other day, I'm in Chicago in the United Center, and all of a sudden I'm grabbed, from behind in the press room. And it's Patrick Kane's dad, and we just start shooting the breeze. And next thing I know, I'm walking up to the press box behind the Zamboni entrance, and Patrick Kane's dad sought me out again to introduce me to his wife. And this is just like the parents of a superstar, and I've never covered Patrick Kane. The only thing he remembers is I've done a lot of Patrick Kane stories, and that I covered Patrick Kane's first NHL game because it was here in 2007, which is what led to Bob, the 1-0 game where Jacques, remember the Jacques, he was like, I've seen too much. I need to get my eyes reversed. So.
From B-Steph 12, would Nylander take less money to sign with a team that paid U.S. money? U.S. dollars.
Wait, say that again?
Would Nylander,
sorry,
take less to sign with a team that paid U.S. dollars?
Yeah, that's what I thought the tweet was. All teams pay U.S. dollars. Doesn't matter. The 7 Canadian teams. That's why years ago, Canadian teams were always losing a ton of money unless you were Toronto or Montreal, because they were taking in Canadian dollars but paying out U.S. All NHL players get paid in U.S. funds.
From Jacob,
could you imagine that if you signed a $5 million deal in Edmonton or whatever, and you only got paid 72 cents on the dollar? That would not fly.
Plus, you have to walk around with all the loonies in your pocket.
Yeah,
so
these guys,
these
guys get paid in U.S. funds.
From Jacob Burkhart, is it now the time to trade Coyle? 10 points to the first part of the season might be marketable to teams looking to make some tweaks.
Sure.
All right. From Jeff Ripka,
I love Charlie, but man, the other night on that power play with 5 minutes left, when he's hanging out on the side of the net, like, does he not know what his role is? And it's funny how I always see things that Bruce does. Bruce, it's one of the first things he subtly mentioned in his post-game press conference. And I mentioned it on Twitter during the game. It's like, come on.
Well, Bruce can read Twitter during during the
intermissions. Come on, Charlie. So frustrating. He's such a frustrating player.
He is, and we probably would just write him off. He wasn't such a nice guy, hard worker.
I've said it a gazillion times. He would not be on the power play with me. And when Luke Cunnin is up here, eventually, at some point, first thing that needs to happen is him replace Charlie on the power play.
From Jeff Ripka, the room seems better this year. Suter has recovered from possible career-ending injury. Do you think his injury and recovery has changed his perspective on hockey or his interactions with teammates?
I don't know what that would have to do with the room being better. I just don't. There's just this belief that, like, Ryan Suter's as big as cancer in the world and blah, blah, blah. And Ryan Suter's realizing that careers are short is not suddenly why the room has turned good. Winning has helped the room turn good. They're a close team. They just are. I do think there's something to that 5-2 road trip. I know it sounds cliche, bonding on the road and blah 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 blah, but they made sure to go out and hang out as have a lot of dinners and things like that. I stayed with them out in San Jose. I think I mentioned on one of the podcasts, and I went out to dinner that night and sat in. So it's Santana Row. It's kind of this high end, sort of like West End looking thing, in outside San Jose there. And so you have the hotel on one sort of block of stores and restaurants. Then you have across the street other stores and restaurants. And then in the middle, kind of like a median with kind of like little outdoor cafes and things like that. And so I was sitting there with Greenlay and Tom Reed and a couple others. A couple of the San Jose writers came out to meet us, and the one thing I noticed all night from the time I got there, which was 5 or 6 p.m., to the time I went to dinner, which was 8 or 8:30 p.m., just constantly players walking by together, enjoying each other's company type thing, for lack of a better term. Not to be corny, but that it was one thing that you noticed is that, like, look, these guys are hanging together and enjoying it, and so that's pretty cool.
I was always amazed when I covered the Twins as a beat writer how often I would bump into individual players out on the town.
Yeah.
Baseball players, some baseball players are loners. They just want to go have a beer. They want to do their own thing.
For that reader asked about Ryan Suter, one thing I'll tell you right now that I saw that night, Ryan Suter going to dinner with Jordan Greenway. How about that? I mean, that there, you would not expect that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is.
That the 21-year-old rookie on the Wild is hanging out with the one of the oldest players, veteran like Ryan Suter. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Absolutely. From Ty Dalla, I think it is. Could you see Kakinen getting a few games in the big club this season?
Not unless there was an injury, but man, is he playing great down there. It looks like the Wild, as that one person said, maybe goalie, top end goalie. He is, you don't want to make a lot out of just a first month and a half of a pro career in North America, or that he's coming off Player of the Week. But man, he's been awesome. And but again, what it does is maybe make, what it does is tell you is that, like, look, Devin Dubnyk's not going to last forever here, and Alex Stalock's certainly not going to be the number one here. So it gives you the ability to know that, hey, maybe they don't need to even re-sign Alex after this year, that you could have a guy like Kakinen up here. Or maybe you sign Alex for one more year, give Kakinen, because goalies you want to be very patient with, give Kakinen another full year down in Iowa, and have somebody backing up Devin, and then you could suddenly, slowly but surely, bring an heir apparent in here the way that this team, once wanted to do with guys like Josh Harding and Darcy Kemper.
From Mike Burgoyne, our Iowa Wild correspondent, how many games does Eck have before he'll require waivers to go down?
It's something like 40 or 50 still.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll tell you that in a sec.
Okay.
About that, I could figure that out quickly. With one text.
And let's see, we get a different kind of question here. From Adam Nelson, with the Wild again lacking scoring, finishing lately, any chance we'll see someone like Rao get called up? 7 goals, 7 assists in 16 games, off to a good start.
Yeah, but that's the minors. I mean, Rao up here is going to be in a fourth line role or third run, max. I mean, he's not going to score a ton of points up here. But there's a lot of good signs right now. What's going on down there? I mean, Louis Belpedio is playing great. Louis Belpedio, I try not to go on players' social medias, but holy heck. So I must follow him on Instagram. So I was on Instagram stories the other day. Louis Belpedio, the Iowa Wild played in Rockford the other night, so he must have went home. And he's got this gigantic dog, kind of like Marmaduke-looking dog. And during the Wild anthem, where the anthem singer was going on and, belting it out, his dog was just howling.
Oh, that's awesome.
And he wrote on there something like next anthem singer or something. And I absolutely laughed. I watched that thing like 50 times. Belpedio is playing great, but you know what a great sign is down there? Sorry, I'm looking for Burgoyne's answer. Mason Shaw. It's been awesome. Remember, he tore his ACL and MCL last year, missed basically the entire season of hockey. And then he's second leading scorer right now behind Cal O'Reilly down there. So that's good. Cunnin still getting his legs under him, for all the people that keep on asking what's going on with him. Wow. What did I say, 40 or 50 for Eriksson Ek? 49.
Wow.
How about that? So my point on Cunnin is that just don't just because points say that he's playing great down there, he's health-wise, they don't feel he's ready yet. And Probably coming back from the injury has also led to some bumps and bruises, him compensating and other things. So.
You know what? We got a lot of good questions here. I think this is a long enough show for a holiday week. We don't want to overburden people. And we also want people to go to the other shows on the network and listen to them. So I'm going to get a final thought from Michael Russo on anything he wants. And you know how good his final thoughts are all the time.
Actually, just thought of a good one.
Okay, good. Well, let's thank Twill in the Edina Galleria, WizKids.tech, Delano's Pizza. Again, if you want to order Delano's Pizza, go to delanospizza.com and fill out their form. Or, let me give you their phone number one more time, 612-767-9494. Thank you to Fixology Repair. They have a bunch of new stuff in, fixologyrepair.com. State Farm agent Tony Hoagland, Hoaglund. And also we have our always running Bite Squad promo, which is that if you haven't used Bite Squad before, you go to bitesquad.com or Bite Squad app and type in Talk North. You get your first delivery fee waived. But if you're going to order Delano's, just go straight to Delano's. It's better for their business. Final thought, Michael.
I have three. One, if you haven't followed me on social media, Russo Hockey, go back during the hour that we filmed this, and there's some videos and photos that you'll find funny. Two, I mentioned on the podcast last week when my mom, that the first thing she said to me when I showed her where I was building my new house is, "You're going to regret this." Well, on Friday, she and I went back up there to look at some other thing. I wanted to show her, wanted to meet the guy that helped me put essentially worked for the builder that helped me design the home and all that stuff. And so I decided to go in a different way that would be closer to where my house is going to be. Mm-hmm. And we're driving by, and she looks at this community, and she goes, "Now that community, that's not a very pretty community." And I go, "That's my community." So,
well, that once again, you're saying forward to your mother, just like the story she told at Delano's the other night.
Yeah, and then here's the best final thought that Russo's filter, and Russo's Slack,
now you're all fired up.
Everybody listen. So, we're just come off this. This is going to be my excuse. So I fly to Chicago on Sunday morning. It was second of back-to-back. And I immediately, when I land, I get this text from somebody, "Hey, give me a call." So I call the person. So I'm not thinking rationally. At O'Hare, you take, even the pilot joked, we'll be taxiing longer than we are in the air, and then we have to wait out. Our gate's full. So it's like 25 minutes we've been on the ground. So I call the person that wanted me to call, and I'm talking to them on kind of a conference call type thing, and I just get off the phone I just get off the plane like an idiot. I go through security like an idiot. I go down to baggage claim like an idiot. I'm standing out baggage claim, and all of a sudden I get this phone call from a number that I don't recognize. I send it to voicemail. I get off the phone. I listen to the voicemail. And it's, "Mr. Russo, this is..." can't believe I can't remember her name, and she was a big Wild fan too. I feel bad. Actually, I'll tell you. It's on my phone still. She's like, "Mr. Russo, this is the flight attendant on your flight. You left your bag on the plane."
I've done that before.
Oh
you
my
feel
God.
So stupid.
It's not only you feel stupid, like now, can it be more of an inconvenient situation? Leslie, thank you. So left my bag on the plane. Sorry if I just disconnected us.
I think we're okay.
So I left my bag on the plane. So now I got to go like an idiot to the baggage claim agents and say, "I left my plane. Can they bring it down here?" No, they can't. So they got to give you like a security clearance. And I'm like, "Well, can I just use my boarding pass at Minneapolis to Chicago?" No, you can't. And so I wait 10 minutes for them to do this thing that will get me through security. I don't know if you know, when you get something like that, you don't get TSA pre-check. So now I have to go through regular security at O'Hare on a freaking Sunday.
Oh, no.
I finally get out to my gate, which is E17, the furthest gate at that terminal, get my bag, come back out, and off on already tired because it's the second of a back-to-back, and then go to the hotel like an hour and a half after I landed at O'Hare. It was such a pain in the ass. But here's the most unbelievable thing about this. They have new security measures at O'Hare that when you go through TSA pre-check, you don't give your boarding pass. You just have them, they scan your driver's license.
Really?
And what it does is on your driver's license, it shows them the way that I understand it from the TSA agent, it just shows them your known traveler number and that you are eligible, that you do have TSA pre-check. So that entire 40 minutes it was 20 minutes that I was online at O'Hare the first time to give my security clearance thing. I technically could have gone through TSA pre-check the entire time. The way that I understand it, I just had them scan my driver's license. So it was just like one of those things like, what an idiot, you know? But the reason why this happened was we had just come off a 7-game road trip. Out of habit, for 7 straight games for 2 weeks, you checked the bag. You were going to baggage claim. So just out of habit, I just wasn't even thinking that I had my roller bag on the plane. So
my problem is, Michael, is sometimes if you sit in first class or even if you sit in Delta Comfort, where you end up with having a couple drinks if you're not going to be driving.
Yeah.
And if I have a couple drinks, I will forget everything.
Yeah. It's funny. I don't drink. I never ever. I don't even remember the last time I would ever order a drink on a plane. I think maybe going to Europe, I'll get a glass of wine, but I never drink I never take advantage of the free alcohol on
I've
planes,
actually cut way back because for a while there I was having maybe 1 or 2, and
that's how you rate so well.
But the problem is, I don't think drinking during a flight is a very good idea in terms of your dehydration level, and your fatigue level. I usually don't feel well when I land, so I stopped.
Yeah. I wouldn't. I normally just don't. But it was just. I've been lucky lately. I've been it's 7 or 8 first classes in a row. I like it.
I knew we'd get around to Michael's upgrades.
I was very disappointed. I flew O'Hare to Minneapolis back here the other day, and I had to sit back in 11C.
My God, how do you survive?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, why do you even keep doing the job?
Yeah.
When that happens.
2 rows back in coach. It was tough.
Twitter question, Russo Slacks, is Michael going to retire if he can't get upgraded more often? I made that up.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah.
Pretty little city built on a hillside. Music in the bars and fire in the sky. We went to the beach and it was covered in ice. And I used to call it home. So much coming out, there's nothing going in. I know that you feel like you're never gonna win. Oh, but the world won't forgive a winner.
Hey.
At Metro, the best deal in wireless is on. Switch to Metro and get 1 full Amazon Prime membership included every month. Plus, get 2 free phones from top brands like Samsung and LG with huge HD screens. All with 2 lines for just $90. That's the best deal in wireless, only at Metro. Plus sales tax and activation fee. Requires port in of eligible number not currently active on T-Mobile network or active on Metro in past 90 days. Limit 4 per account or household. Offer subject to change. Offer valid for new Amazon Prime members. Amazon Prime has a $12.99 per month value. Restrictions apply. See store for details and terms and conditions.
From the kids to Aunt Sue. Keep your whole family connected on all their devices with crowd-pleasing gig-speed internet from Xfinity. Now that's simple, easy, awesome. Learn more about gig-speed internet or other popular plans, now with even more speed. Enjoy faster downloads and a better streaming experience today. Go to Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit an Xfinity store for a great offer. Restrictions apply. Actual speeds vary and not guaranteed.